Alright, hello everybody, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, whatever time you're tuning into this video, just make sure that it is good. My name is Game Boy Rob, and today is a very exciting day. Today is the day we get new cards. We get the glorious evolution in Legends of Runeterra. After years of waiting, he's finally here, among others. Now, before we get into that, before we go into all the stuff, all the deck, you know, all the cards that are in today's deck, I want to start with an apology. I haven't made any videos for I think over a week now, and that was because I was planning on uploading videos of my my run through the seasonal tournament, but the day of the tournament I was super excited and super nervous, and I completely forgot to hit record, and I didn't record any of my matches, so I couldn't upload them to YouTube, which is rookie move. I know, rookie mistake, but that's what happened. So forgive me. In case you're curious, I went 1-4. I got my butt kicked. So, and the games weren't very exciting anyway. So, you didn't miss much. You didn't miss anything. Is what I'm trying to say here. So don't worry. Don't worry that we weren't able to find that for you. But yeah. So today we've got some very exciting new cards. I whipped up a deck during my stream today titled Glorious Evolution, and let me show you what this deck is all about. So this is a deck built around two new cards, two new champions, right? Zoe and Viktor. Now, I should probably preface this. For those of you who don't know, Zoe just got added to the game alongside Viktor, and what she does, she's a 1-mana 1/1 with elusive, so very reminiscent of Teemo, right? And she says, Nexus Strike, create a super cool star chart in hand, which is super cool star chart. I'm just going to search super, which is this. Super cool star chart. It's essentially Behold the Infinite, except it only pulls celestial cards that cost 3 or less, right? Nothing crazy, nothing super interesting there, right? It's basically a Behold the Infinite, right? Kind of the same thing. So she creates one of those when she strikes, or if you have one already, she reduces its cost. Whatever. Cool. Very cool, right? This is the interesting part. She levels up when she sees you play 10 cards or more with different names. Now that, obviously, you might be thinking, hold on, that's the same requirement as Submersible, right? That's hard. That takes forever to get that. How on earth are you ever going to level up this champion? And to an extent, you're right. It's pretty hard. However, once she levels up, obviously she becomes a 1-mana 2/2, and then she says for the rest of the game, even when she's not on the board, even if Zoe dies, once she's leveled up, it doesn't matter. This effect is granted to you. For the rest of the game, when you summon an ally, grant its keywords to all allies. And then when she Nexus Strikes, she creates a Behold the Infinite that costs 0. I've only done this once. I've only created the Behold the Infinite with Zoe that costs 0 once. And at the end of round, it no longer costs 0. I'm not sure if that's a bug or if it's just not written that it only costs 0 for one turn, but we can deal with that later, right? We can deal with that later. What's important is this effect right here is super powerful. All you need to make this incredibly broken and incredibly game winning is one elusive creature. That's all you need. One elusive unit, which we can find through Invoke very easily, right? So that's Zoe right there. It's not as hard as you might think to level her up. I've leveled her up a few times, and it can kind of come out of nowhere, and there can sometimes be nothing your opponents can do unless they have like a really easy, cheap removal for her, right? So it's hard. Don't get me wrong. This is hard, but it's not as hard as people have been saying. So what else do we have? Well, the other half of the deck is Viktor, right? Viktor is a 4-mana 2/4 who with Augment, which means whenever you play a card that has been created, he gets +1/+0 permanently, right? Now at round start, he creates a Hex Core upgrade. What is a Hex Core upgrade? It's simple. It's just a 1-mana slow spell that grants Viktor a new keyword, right? And since he has Augment, it also gives him another attack power. So 1 mana, increase his power by 1, and give him a new keyword. Now, this might seem like it's not very much, but Viktor can get very out of hand, very crazy, very quickly. It does not take very long for Viktor to become suddenly a 6/4 with quick attack and challenger and overwhelm, and suddenly your opponent's like, hold up, wait a minute, how do I deal with that? It gets very scary. When he levels up, well, he levels up when you played 8 created cards. He doesn't have to see them. just over time, as you play cards, he'll level up. He can level up in hand, yada yada, right? And then he says your created cards cost 1 less. He still has augment. That's basically the only difference, is your created cards cost 1 less. This isn't the most impactful level up in the world, but it is more than it seems. Giving a bunch of cards in your hand 1 less cost is nothing to sneeze at. That is a big deal. On top of that, he's just a huge threatening body that can win games all by himself if he's not dealt with. So that's Viktor right there. Now, what is the rest of this deck? The rest of this deck is a deck that is composed of creation, right? We want to level up Viktor kind of efficiently, kind of quickly. So we have built a deck that is very good at creating a lot of cards. How do we do that? Well, first things first is this new card called Death Ray, right? Death Ray Mark 1. Deals 1 to a unit, and then it creates a Death Ray Mark 2. Now, this is just deal 1 to a unit at fast speed, basically a Blade's Edge, but into the top 3 cards of your deck, it shuffles what is essentially a Mystic Shot, right? A 2 mana, deal 2 at fast speed. Now, neither of these cards can target face, which is the biggest difference. Neither of these can damage your opponent's Nexus, but it's not really what you're using them for anyway, so that's not the biggest deal in the world. They would be better if they could, obviously, but alas, they cannot target face. So this is the same thing. This is essentially a Mystic Shot. And then the third one is essentially a Get Excited that can't target face, but doesn't need you to discard, right? So these cards are not on their own. Like, you shouldn't just main deck this instead of Mystic Shot. You shouldn't just put this in your deck instead of like Get Excited, because it's not that powerful. It's not that good. But in this deck, considering they level up Viktor and they work for Viktor's augment and that sort of thing, they are definitely necessary. They are a necessary thing to put in this deck, and they do put in the work, even though they're not like the strongest cards in the world. Now we've got three copies of Spacey Sketcher to create to invoke and maybe deal with some of our trash, which we will be creating in this deck. Ballistic Bot is a new card, 2 mana 1/3 with augment that every turn creates an ignition in your hand. A 1 mana slow speed, deal 1 to the enemy Nexus. This, of course, triggers augment. It is a differently named card that Zoe needs to level up. And also it is a great source of discard fodder for things like Spacey Sketcher, right? And that is beautiful. This card obviously is great in a deck like this, but it is also fantastic in other archetypes such as like Draven Ezreal, right? Things that like to use a lot of discard fodder and then like rummage them away or Sump Dredger them away. This card is a godsend for those decks. So you can expect to see this card around a lot. He's pretty cool. His voice lines are great. He's very Russian. It's all lovely. It's all lovely. We're running a couple of Hushes just because Hush is a great card, belongs to this deck. We're running 3 Pale Cascades for the same reason. We're running 3 Mountain Goats because Mountain Goats create gems. Gems are good discard fodder, and they're also a cheap thing to level up Zoe, and they're also a thing that can trigger augment. I think you're sensing a pattern here, right? Now, we've got 3 copies here of Iterative Improvement, which is a 2 mana burst speed spell that says pick a follower and then create a copy of it in hand with +1/+1. This card is super cool. This card is so cool. This card can provide you with the late game that we don't really have. We kind of top out at 5 mana here, but this card, you can just like, say your opponent plays a Captain Farron on like turn 8, you could just play this and then take their Captain Farron, play your own Captain Farron, and then he has +1/+1. So now they can't even attack with their Captain Farron because yours is bigger than theirs, right? And that's really cool. On top of that, it just has an extraordinary amount of flexibility throughout the mid game. And it's just a great card. You probably don't want to keep this in your opening hand because it is a bit of a tempo sacrifice, but late in the game, that doesn't matter as much, especially with the Viktor's like discounts potentially going in, factoring in and that sort of thing. This is just an excellent card. Hopefully I can showcase it in the games coming up. 3 copies of Pale Cascade because we're running Targon and we're not crazy people. We like to win, and so we play Pale Cascade. 3 copies of Lunari Priestess because it's a cheap card that can invoke. You could make an argument that Solari Priestess is good as well. I like the Lunari Priestess because I like the more flexible invoke. We don't always want a card that costs 4 or 6. In fact, we usually don't. We usually want cheaper cards. And on top of that, it is much easier to activate Nightfall in this deck than it is to activate Daybreak because we have a lot of cheap spells flying around all the time, right? So we're going to be casting a lot of cards, and being locked into playing something first can be kind of difficult, but being locked into playing something second or third or fourth or fifth, not so bad. So I choose Lunari Priestess, but you could certainly make an argument for Solari Priestess. 3 copies of Sump Dredger, just as a source of card draw, a source of doing something with all the fodder that comes off of Ballistic Bot, that comes off of Mountain Goat. You know, if we haven't drawn our Viktor yet or our Zoe and we're running out of gas, we can turn those gems, those ignitions into something that's actually useful, right? A card. So that's why we have Sump Dredger. We have 1 copy of Moonlight Affliction. In case you don't know, this card is probably going to show up a lot in the meta in Targon decks. This card is very, very strong. It's just a 5 mana burst speed, silence 2 enemy units. This can target champions. And then if you activate Nightfall, they also can't block this round. So this is just a great finisher in a lot of decks. And also if you're on the defense and you've got something scary coming in, say, oh, I don't know, a couple units buffed by Feel the Rush that are coming in to overwhelm and kill you, you can just silence both of them. You can just silence them both at burst speed, and then they're not a big deal anymore, right? So we're running a 1 off of that, a 1 off of Star Shaping, and 3 copies of Submersible, Kitty in the Submarine. Now you may be looking at the deck and going, hold on, how can you be running 3 copies of Submersible? You have 3 copies of everything in here, right? Like almost every card in your deck is a 3 of. There's no way we're gonna cast 10 cards with different names, and that's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong, because the thing about this deck is that where most decks want card draw, where most decks would try to draw through their deck and get more value and more card advantage that way, we don't really do that. We get most of our value through create effects, creations, right? And it is super easy in this deck to get Submersible like up to 10 and you know, ready to go on like turn 5 or 6. Like, it's so easy. We will be casting lots of spells with different names that are very cheap from cards like Spacey Sketcher, from cards like Ballistic Bot, from Zoe, from Iterative Improvement, you know, Mountain Goat. These cards all are sort of 2 cards in one that generate, you know, value. They generate cards. I think the one card I didn't talk about was Spell Thief. This card is hilarious and fantastic. It is a 1 mana burst speed spell that says pick 1 of 3 enemy spells played this game and create a copy in hand. So the way this works, you play Spell Thief, and then 3 random cards out of all the cards, all the spells that your opponent has played are shown to you, right? You get 3 random cards out of what your opponent has played. And then you get to pick 1, right? They're specifically spells, they're not units. So you can essentially say, you essentially, when you have this in your hand, you need to be thinking, okay, what has my opponent played this game? Have they played a Vengeance? Have they played an Avalanche? You know, what can I use to my advantage? And what should I look for with Spell Thief? And then if you get that thing, you can use it to your advantage, right? And that's really, really cool. So I've been rambling on. I think that deck tech is already probably too long. But I'm really, really excited about this. I'm really looking forward to this, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get into some games and let's show you what the heck this is all about. All right, let us begin. Okay, Nightfall. Okay, so we got some good old classic Nightfall. Oh, and this is my first time on the new board. I just went and got the new board to go along with this this new deck we got here. Ooh, and I like that music. Ooh, that's nice. I like that a lot. Okay, so Nightfall, right? Aggro deck. We're gonna take out the Hush, and I think we'll keep everything else. This looks good. This looks good. Death Ray. Oh, and we find a turn 1 Zoe. Ooh, that's nice. Oh, that's everything we wanted right there. Death Ray is a great answer to any sort of 1 health unit our opponent could throw down. Stygian Onlooker, for instance. Hey, there it is. Oh, we were just talking about you. So I could play Death Ray and stop some damage, or I could play Zoe. The only reason really to play Zoe here instead of Death Ray is to, you know, begin leveling her up with Death Ray. I don't think that's necessary. I think we'll respect our opponent. We'll respect the fact that they can, you know, get a lot of damage on us kind of out of nowhere, and we'll kill this Onlooker immediately. By doing this sooner, and there's the cool animation of Death Ray, by the way, in case you haven't seen it. By doing this sooner rather than later, it also increases the odds that we draw in to our Death Ray sooner, like that. And I think we still don't drop the Zoe. I think now we go for the Mountain Goat. Dropping Zoe on turn 1, like, it's good, don't get me wrong. It's a great thing to do. but it's not like necessarily how you always need to play Zoe, right?
Your own light within the darkness.
The thing about I'm actually gonna turn my audio down here a little bit, my music volume. I feel like everything else is a little quiet. There we are. What was I saying? The thing about Zoe is she's kind of like Teemo, except she doesn't need to Nexus Strike in order to get her value off, right?
Promise of a new moon upon you, Bloom Tender.
So we're probably gonna play her now. We're probably gonna play her now.
Reality is just your mind crumbling under what it doesn't understand, silly!
Silly? So we're gonna play Zoe now, and we're gonna set up for the Death Ray, right? The Death Ray is going to target Diana here. I assume... Oh wow, they're going for another onlooker. That's fair. That's fair enough. So this is essentially a Mystic Shot, right? We'll see which unit Diana challenges here. Oh, she actually doesn't have Challenger. What am I even saying? What am I even talking about, dude? What am I even talking about? So, given that we're going up against a pretty heavy aggro deck, I don't think we're going to try to level up Zoe. I think that's a bit of a lost cause.
Zoe, what's your name?
We can just trade her away and kind of be happy with that, right? We can just trade her away and clear our opponent's board like this.
I forgot how slow time moves.
We are going to trade away the Mountain Goat, even though it's just an ephemeral, you know, one drop. That's good enough for us.
No.
We just need to stabilize, right? We definitely have the potential to outlast this Nightfall deck. We just need to do it, right? And we aren't running very much healing. So we need to respect our opponent. This is probably a decent time to drop Viktor.
With utmost efficiency.
With utmost efficiency. I love this guy so much. I love his voice lines. I love everything about this. I love... So far, I know we're only like literally a day into the new patch, but I am loving every minute of it so far. I don't think we're going to attack with Viktor. Viktor can do a lot of work on his attacks later, and we want to preserve his health if we can. So we get a Death Ray Mark III, a 3 damage Death Ray now. As our opponent goes for, okay, more Fading Memories. That's his 3rd Fading Memories. My goodness, dude, my goodness. My goodness. And we'll go for the Ballistic Bot first. Before anything else, we'll go for the Ballistic Bot.
Once I stamp papers, now faces. Our goals are greater than petty violence.
Okay. Our opponent goes for a Lunari Shadestalker. This is probably what we're going to Death Ray here. So this Hex Core upgrade is fleeting. So I would... Obviously, we kind of want to use it now. But dealing with this 2-3 is probably more important. So we're gonna pass, I think.
Whatever the cost.
Whatever the cost. And now we will block this with Viktor since he won't die, right? Now this card, we drew this card, right? But it is still created, and you can see right over here, right? This says created by something. Death Ray Mark II created this card. So this card will deal, will trigger Augment for both of these 2 units here, right? And give them extra attack. Fantastic, dude. Fantastic. So we're in a very good position. Our opponent's completely out of gas.
Perfection.
And we are generating 2 cards every turn. So this time we're going to start with the Hex Core upgrade. We're going to finally start getting Viktor some keywords here. Now this is random, right? The keyword that he gets is completely random. Today we got Lifesteal, which kind of means we win the whole game.
The moon is our queen, the night her kingdom.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Our opponent levels up Diana, but we have a Viktor
Each act of heresy is
with an
act of
insane amount of
passion.
attack here. I think we're going to gem him up too.
System upgrade. Safety disengaged.
Unfortunately, we can only get him up to 3 attack, which means he is going to go down to one of these cards here. But I think we have to live with that. He's going to heal us back up to full health, and I think that's going to be good enough.
Submit.
We can click OK first. We played a couple cards. We can click OK and see if our opponent wants to play that last card. Or if they want to wait. I think I think we're going to attack. We'll offer the trade, right? We'll let him go down to the Doom Beast because we go back up to 20 life. And that's good enough, right? That's good enough value for us. As you can see, it is round 6 and we're already at 9 out of 10 on this Submersible. We're gonna play like, we could play this Ignition, we could play a Sub Treasure, we could play anything, and Submersible is gonna be done, right? I think I'm gonna make use of this Ignition with the Sub Treasure and draw a new card. And now Submersible is at 10 out of 10 and ready to go, even though we have lots of copies of the same cards in our deck, right? We have lots and lots of 3-ofs. And it just doesn't matter. You know? We're creating so many cards with different names that it doesn't end up mattering. So Submersible kind of always just has, you know, its leveled up form.
Night flowers upon my blade. The promise of a new.
Now we're not gonna play it into a Diana that can just kill it easily, obviously. We're gonna play another Sum Treasure. And our opponent goes for a fat Dusk Rider. That's all right, we don't care. We have blockers. We have blockers for days. Now, probably we will be going for... We could go for some Cosmic Rays to take out Diana and the 2-1 here, but probably we just want the Messenger.
Calm mind and open heart greet the night.
No more lies. I will be heard.
Our opponent takes out our Ballistic bot. Whatever, dude, whatever. We don't mind. That's fine. We don't mind. Our opponent is completely out of steam and we are not. We are not even close to out of steam, right? We'll start with the Submersible. And then we're gonna go for the Luminary Priestess. We're gonna see if we can find something big. We're gonna see if we can find like a Phoenix, you know, or a what's it called? The Great Beyond, something like that, you know.
Arise in our time of need.
Okay, so this is an ephemeral Crescent Guardian right here, right? Good to know, good to know. Yeah, I think we will go Luminary Priestess. We don't find we don't find the Great Beyond, but we do find a Cosmic Inspiration, which might be a bit much. That might be a bit much. We probably don't need that. We probably should take the Warrior instead.
Evening approaches.
That would be a bit too much of a tempo sacrifice to really justify, I think. So we won't. We won't do that. Right, because the Cosmic Inspiration is great in a matchup where they can also like kind of take you to the late game, and like for the rest of the game you'll be like winning and winning and winning. But we're kind of already, our opponent is really desperate right now. He's kind of already in a really bad spot, and he needs to find some way to close out the game. So we don't need to take that huge tempo loss right now. We can just take the Warrior and take out his Diana, and then he'll sort of peter out, in theory.
Bless the faithful and see at the head.
In theory. Okay, so we're gonna start with the Mountain Goat, I think. Mountain Goat blocks well into the Crescent Guardian.
The full moon awakens.
Okay, so there's his ephemeral one. He's out of cards again. We'll put out the Doggo, I think. How are we blocking right now? So I assume Diana is going to challenge the 5/5. Mountain Goat is going to block here. Some Judge is going to block here. We actually need something that can block into these guys more decently. So we actually kind of need to play the Warrior here. That's okay. Viktor is at 6 out of 8. If we draw another one, you know, we'll be fine.
I cannot turn back.
Oh, he actually takes the Warrior.
Face your heritage.
Fair enough. Fair enough. He takes our opponent takes the Warrior, does not take the Submersible. Fine with us, dude. Fine with us. And I think we can block just like that. After this attack goes through, we will drop a Zoe. And then our opponent is going to be in some trouble. Then our opponent's going to be in some trouble.
I bear a message from. Oh, hey, what's that?
All right, we're going to start with the messenger here.
It reminds us there is always more to discover.
Okay, this is actually a moment like, okay, Zoe's Sleepy Trouble Bubble, right? Zoe's champion spell.
Beauty is transient.
Generally not the best card in the world, but right now it's looking pretty good, huh? Right now it's looking pretty decent. Okay, so he does reduce Zoe's attack power, so we cannot get a Nexus Strike with Zoe this turn, which is sad. But I don't think we mind. I don't think we mind. We have a lot of different options here. This costs a total of 5 mana, right? So we can play Submersible and Zoe's Sleepy Trouble Bubble, and I think that's probably the play. So we're gonna go for Sleepy Trouble Bubble, which does count as a separate card, by the way. It does level up Zoe, even though it is a Zoe, sort of. Zed goes to sleep, or not Zed, I'm sorry, Nocturne goes to sleep, and then we knock it out with the Paddle Star, right? Because he's stunned now. Whee! Now that was not very efficient mana-wise, but it doesn't matter, right? Because our opponent's completely out of steam. They can't use all this mana they can't use the mana advantage that they gained on us.
Arise in our time of need.
I'm going to play the Sump Dredger, I think. Well, actually, we could just wait. We could totally just, like, sit back and wait for our opponent to do something. We could also play an iterative improvement, like, on our Submersible here. We have tons of options. We honestly have tons of options here. I think I'm going to do that. I would like another Submersible. And then we'll click OK. Our opponent needs to attack. Obviously, Zoe's vulnerable, so she's gonna probably get taken away here.
Night descends.
No surprises there. We will just trade with Diana.
I know your true heart.
He can't do anything about it. His Diana goes down. I'm not sure why he attacked there, but it doesn't really matter. We kind of just have the game here, right?
We will be free.
We could just play our new and improved Submersible. And heck, we can even drop the Sump Treasure. Why not? But yeah. So now we have three Submersibles out there. And that should be game. We'll give him the GG. And there you go. There you go. So that was a good example of how the deck functions even when like against an aggro deck, right? Nightfall isn't like the scariest, like fastest paced aggro deck in the world, but it is still an aggro deck and it's very low to the ground, which means that we can't always execute our plan the way we normally would. And that is often a good test of whether or not a deck is actually a good deck is how well does it function when you can't get its champions leveled up? You know, how well does it function when stuff doesn't go exactly like you would envision it going? And that went quite well. We lost 2 Zoes, we lost a Viktor, but they all gained value anyway. Even though they died before they leveled up, they gained a lot of value and we were able to easily outpace that aggro deck and beat his face in, right? So hopefully in games coming up I can showcase what happens when it all goes right and how the deck functions in more of like a normal matchup, like a mid-range versus mid-range matchup, but we'll see. Look forward to that. That's what we're gonna look for now. All right, we got ourselves another aggro list. Same board though. This guy has good taste. It's an aggro deck, which means we want to keep hold of our Spacey Sketcher. We might even keep our Pale Cascade. Nah, that shouldn't be necessary. But we want to be super low to the ground, right? We want to have cheap cards and play super quick if we can. Generally, I would not want to play a Spacey Sketcher on turn 1. I would want to wait until I have a gem or an ignition or something better to discard. But if our opponent plays like a Sump Snipe? Zonite Urchin? Well, we might have to go for Spacey Sketcher. Yeah.
The sun rock got me good.
Just like that. I think Mountain Goat probably is what we don't want to have in our hand right now. I do like the Messenger. I also like the Serpent.
One star's whoopsie is another
We don't want to lose
spark.
out too heavily on card advantage, right? We don't want to completely run out of gas ourselves. But we should be able to answer our opponent's 2-1 here. With a little doggo. That's right, with a little doggo. Just like you. Adorable doggo. Adorable doggo. Oh, nice. This is very nice. Our opponent did not attack. And I mean, I don't blame him. But now we have the Death Ray, which is quite nice for us. We're going to drop the Ballistic Bot.
I am superior life form.
The superior life form.
Safety disengaged.
And we find ourselves a Zoe. This is looking very nice. Ooh, that's looking less nice. That is looking a little less nice. We're going to drop the Messenger
Prime and ready.
for a couple reasons. On the one hand, obviously it buffs Ballistic Bot. And now we should be ready to Death Ray one of the 2-1s. So this is looking good. The Doggo is going to block the Spider. Ballistic Bot's going to block the 2-2. Spacey Sketcher is going to block a 2-1. And Death Ray is going to block the other 2-1. And we'll only take, I believe, 2 damage here. And we'll get some pretty efficient trades.
Oh, you're interesting.
Here we go.
Beautiful.
Here we go.
Oh, that's gotta sting.
Okay.
Voice.
Safety disengaged.
So now we're going to drop Zoe.
I bear a message from. Oh, hey, what's that?
Time for the main event.
Our opponent drops a Draven. No surprises there.
Paradigm shift time.
So we're going to attack with Zoe. We're probably going to use Death Ray on Draven, because that will increase the odds that we draw Death Ray Mark II. We should have the top card or the card underneath is a Death Ray Mark II, right? Since we didn't draw one this turn. So we're going to use it on Draven so that hopefully we can draw that off the top. We also could have played Sump Judger to try to draw. Yeah, but that would have only drawn the essentially a Mystic Shot, right? I think what we're doing now is better. We don't need to play the Ignition here. It'd be better probably to save our mana. We'll just let that discard. We're going to get a new one.
Upgrade.
We do not find it. That's super unfortunate. Super unfortunate that we don't find the whatever it's called. If our opponent like develops, however, we're guaranteed to draw it now. We are guaranteed to draw a Death Ray Mark II from like a Sump Judger, right? So that's what we're gonna shoot for. We have 2 Spell Thieves in our hand, and our opponent has not yet played a spell.
This Joker.
But he will in time, I think. So I think it's still okay to discard the Ignition. And there's the Death Ray Mark II. So now we can kill Draven.
Let's do this.
Efficiently. We can efficiently kill Draven. We could try to keep Zoe alive with like a Pale Cascade. It's not really necessary, but I think I'd like to do it. If our opponent has like a vision in hand, this will feel really silly to go for this Pale Cascade. But we don't really want to leave this unblocked either, do we?
How's it going?
How's it going? How's it going, Zoe? Maybe we can. Maybe we can leave it unblocked.
Improve perfection.
We'll leave it unblocked for now. It's only threatening 1 damage. If our opponent does have a vision, I guess he can deal a couple extra damage to us here. I think that's probably fine. We can try to level up Zoe here. He actually does. Wow, he actually does have the vision.
Now we're cooking.
But he gave the axe to Draven, which is not helping him. He missed out on a damage there. Who am I to judge, right? Who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? So now this Spell Thief, I believe, is active. We could get, I believe, an axe, and that's it. Out of that. Probably not what we want. So we could go for a super cool star chart, or we could attack with Zoe and decrease its cost, right? We could play it and get another one, or we could attack and decrease its cost. I think I'd rather play it. Given my hand. I think given my hand, I would rather play it. And we can take a Crescent Strike as well to stall for time. I think I like that quite a lot, actually. We're mostly doing this for the card draw. Pale Cascade isn't giving us much value by itself right now.
Rules are made to be broken, like buildings. Or people.
We have an easy answer to that. Easy peasy answer to the Jinx here.
Safety disengaged.
Got me.
Bleh. Now, playing with Zoe is a little interesting because you do have to keep in mind what cards she has seen you play. She has seen us play 6 cards with different names. But she doesn't tell us which ones they are. We can figure it out, right? If we go to the point where we played Zoe and like work our way forward from there, we can see which cards we've played. She's seen us play a Death Ray Mark 1 and a Death Ray Mark 2 and a Death Ray Mark 3, right? So she's seen all 3 Death Marks. So Death Mark no longer helps us with leveling up Zoe. No longer helps us. I think we're fine to just play a Submersible here. We could also go for a star chart and try to find like an efficient blocker for these. In fact, that's probably a good idea. We'll do that. For instance, a messenger. Or perhaps the trickster, either of those things. We'll click OK there. I want to see what my opponent does next.
What's the worst that could happen?
My opponent kills Zoe. Fair enough, dude. Fair enough. Fair enough. We cannot level her up, so we say okay. Zoe goes down here. But that's really okay. That's really fine.
Safety disengaged. So ordinary.
So ordinary. So we can trade this 7-1 with the 4-3. I think that's pretty decent value for him. I would like to play Viktor here this turn, but that I think is a little too greedy. We'll have to be content with playing him next turn. These Spell Thieves are actually really weighing me down here.
So many questions.
My opponent hasn't played any spells that are like helpful. I think it's literally just an axe, a spinning axe that he's played so far. So that's not ideal. We'll play Submersible here instead of Viktor, just to spend our mana better. Okay. Our opponent goes for another Experimenter. And he discards his 3rd one. So he is out of Experimenters now. And he's out of Visions. That was also his 3rd Vision. Viktor is now leveled up, which is nice, but not exactly, you know, game winning here. These Spell Thieves we need our opponent to play something. We need our opponent to play like a Mystic Shot so we can get some value out of these Spell Thieves. This is a match of aggro, especially discard aggro that actually kind of wants to discard all its spells. Pretty rough. Pretty rough for Spell Thief. Oof. And we just had the answer to Jinx here, and we gave it up. That's okay.
Humankind must realize its full potential. Flesh is a weakness we must shed.
We're gonna get out our Viktor here. As our opponent develops, we're probably gonna use our Crescent Strike this turn. Oh, or I guess he's going to attack now. What could our opponent have here? Our opponent could have a Rummage, right? Which would level up Jinx.
Publish or perish.
So we're gonna block the Urchin and take 4 from Jinx. The only thing I'm worried about is a Rummage. We could have blocked Jinx there, but I don't think my opponent would just attack into a Viktor, you know, that would kill Jinx. He must have something. If he has a Get Excited, we can kill Jinx before she hits us, which is really cool. I'm having the time of my life right now. There's the Get Excited. It is a regular Get Excited, which I'm not sure matters. But since he's played it, now we can play it, right? We don't even have to wait for that thing to resolve. We can just take it. It's ours now. We're not gonna need this Crescent Strike where we're going. So we're just gonna discard it and kill Jinx, or threaten to kill Jinx. Hurt. Bleh. And now these, whenever we want, we can just put another Get Excited in our hand, right? And just like that, our opponent knows it's over. Woo! That's fun. That's fun stuff right there. That is some fun stuff. Now that was another aggro deck. Let's see. Let's do one more. Let's do one more game, and we'll see if we can find a matchup that isn't against aggro and where we can actually like play out a game where we can actually like play our champions and get them leveled up and get them actually working the way they're supposed to, right? Nope. We just get more aggro. More aggro. It's just an aggro day, apparently. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. It's the first day of a new expansion, which means people are trying to capitalize on people playing decks that they don't really know very well. This is a decent hand. This is honestly a pretty decent hand. We can keep this. Hush works, you know, to destroy the Teemo. And the rest of this hand is just pretty good. I think we'll keep this. Okay, so our opponent has a Teemo on turn 1. Pepe hands, what are you gonna do? Oh, but he doesn't attack with it. Big mistake, dude. Big mistake. We're gonna play the Mountain Goat. We're gonna play the Mountain Goat instead of the Ballistic Bot. Oh wait, no, it doesn't really matter. We don't have enough to play a unit and play Hush, so we're just gonna play the Mountain Goat to deter his attack from the rookie.
Swiftly.
Which he chooses not to go for.
There's enough for everyone.
Good for us, good for us. But that will be Teemo's last attack that he gets on us, right? He will get no more, especially now that we have a Zoe here. We're gonna play Zoe.
Look at this reality. Look how sparkly.
Look how sparkly! We might not attack with her, though. Oh, okay. Our opponent just Mystic Shot Zoe. Hey, that's fine. That's fine. This Mystic Shot could have hit my face, right? And this is an aggro deck, so that alone is good for us.
Oh, it's dizzy.
Honestly, I should thank my opponent. I should give him a thank you. But I'm not a BMer. So, I think we're just going to attack now. Keep mana open for Pale Cascade, just in case, but we don't need it. Then we play Ballistic Bot.
Humanity is obsolete.
Humanity is obsolete. You tell him, Ballistic Bot. You tell him, dude. See if he goes for an open attack. He does. He does. He does. We're just gonna Hush Teemo.
Inferior design.
Inferior design. I see you. I see you, Teemo. We still take 4 damage here, which is not ideal. Okay, our opponent goes for a Mystic Shot onto the goat. We'll respond with the Pale Cascade. We would like our goat to survive here. At least enough to you know, trade with the rookie, right?
Time to go. Backfired.
My collection.
My collection. Now, we don't need to play the ignition. It's fleeting. This is going to go away.
Another day in the
But we
field.
really don't need it, right? We really don't need to play it. Now, if our opponent, you know, decides to spread out here, we're probably going to be in some trouble. We could go for Sump Dredger into a gem, you know, like discarding like Ignition or something to try to maybe draw something that we can play cheaply, and I think that's probably our best play. We could play Viktor as well. Very close. Almost.
One side step papers, now faces.
Now our opponent also goes for a Ballistic Bot, which makes a lot of sense. I think we'll gem ours.
System upgrade.
We can even go for an attack here. We want to pressure our opponent back, right? We would like him, yeah, we would like him to trade out his units here. Our units are more valuable, but his can, like, if he plays enough of them, he can go around ours, right? So we want to trade.
Can you improve perfection?
Ooh, don't know about that one, Teemo. Ooh, don't know about that one, Teemo. We'll give him the sweaty
Never
face.
know what hit 'em.
I don't know about that one, Teemo. At least that game was quick. Ooh, don't know about that one. Don't know about that one. We'll do one more. That one was quick. We'll do one more. Hopefully we don't go up against aggro, right? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? We're gonna keep the Sump Dredger here. I like Mountain Goat into Dredger. I don't think we need Pale Cascade. Zoe, I do like Zoe. Okay, so we're gonna go for turn 1 Zoe. Our opponent could respond with turn 1 Teemo.
Look at this reality.
Look how sparkly! Precious pet.
Paradigm shift time.
Now, obviously Zoe can't block
I
that.
can do this.
Zoe doesn't want to block that. We're gonna drop Mountain Goat. This is looking very similar to last game, isn't it? Pretty straightforward so far.
Backfired.
Now, I think we're just going to attack with Zoe straight off the bat. And try to make this super cool star chart, cheaper.
I have my orders.
She has her orders. We'll play the bot.
One side step papers, now faces.
And I think then we can end the round. Our opponent isn't spreading out anymore, which is good for us. We could gem the Ballistic Bot so that he can block the 2-1, but we already have a blocker for this guy.
See it coming.
So I think we're fine here.
In position.
We will block that, by the way. Easy peasy.
Design.
Easy peasy. I think we will go for the gem onto the Ballistic Bot here.
Safety disengaged.
We could even do it again, just to get him nice and healthy. But I mean, do we really need to play around Mystic Shot from our opponent? I think we don't. I think we don't. We're going to play the Subjudger and we're going to discard the Ignition. We'll see what our opponent does. We probably should have actually clicked OK before we played the Subjudger, but it probably doesn't matter.
Let's make a deal.
Interesting.
No refunds.
No refunds.
I'm ready.
Primed and ready. We can actually, we kind of can just open attack here, right? We can actually kind of just open attack here. And I think I will. This submersible, by the way, is halfway there. And we're like only on round 5.
How's it going?
How's it going? Yeah.
System upgrade.
We're gonna attack. He's gonna block the
You
bot,
buy it.
which is fine. So this goes to 0 cost, which is pretty cool. It's super cool, right? That's super cool that this goes to 0 cost. Super cool. We still don't need to play the Ignition. We probably would like to drop the Lunari Priestess. Ooh, we could also take his bot. We could also copy his bot with Iterative Improvement, which is certainly something we can consider, but not something we need to do. I think Equinox is a pretty good play here.
Greet the night.
There's lots of things that this can hit. In fact, we might even just Equinox his bot here. Zoe is at 5. Oh my goodness gracious. I'm going to be drawing way more cards than I know what to do with. We're going to play the Ignition, because we are actually going for a level up on Zoe right now. Zoe's at 6 out of 10. And now she's at 7 out of 10. And we can actually just cast 3 cards. Look, there's right now, okay, so people say that Zoe is super hard to level up, right? My Zoe has leveled up. There is nothing my opponent can do. There's nothing my opponent can do that can stop Zoe from leveling up. All I have to do is play Super Cool Star Chart and play Iterative Improvement and play Spell Thief. And then Zoe is leveled up. It's done. You know, it's over. She is leveled. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna play the Star Chart. We're gonna take, I guess we're gonna take the Charger. Not exactly what we're looking for, but we can even take Moonsilver and make it easier, right? Make it even easier to level her up. I actually will take Moonsilver here. Get in the portal! We're gonna play Iterative Improvement. And now we just play a card that Zoe hasn't seen yet. We just play Lunari Priestess and that's it. Right? We're actually not going to do that though. We can play Moonsilver at whatever speed we want to play. But I want to see what my opponent does here, right? I don't want to tap too low.
Make the Empire proud.
Make the Empire proud. Yeah, I think Priestess is fine here. And we're gonna take the Serpent.
Stars like jewels on
Okay.
the cloak of night.
Oh, wow. Okay, see, I miscounted. I forgot that we had already played a Lunari Priestess there. It's a very good thing we have a Moonsilver in our hand here. Because I almost messed that up.
Come on, chase me!
But now we're gonna play Moonsilver, and she certainly hasn't seen that yet. And we're gonna put it... Oh, where should we put it? Oh, goodness. We'll put it on Ballistic Bot.
In times of crisis, an aspect descends to herald the reshaping of worlds. And get
And get cake. So now Zoe levels up, she can block Teemo, and we don't care if Zoe dies, right? Zoe has done her job. If she dies, we don't mind. Because we do not, unlike most champions, this says for the rest of the game. So even if Zoe dies here, which she's not even doing, we don't mind, because all keywords are spread across all units for the rest of the game. We're gonna drop this Ballistic Bot.
Witness perfection. Need eyes.
And now everything we have has augment. And now everything we have has augment and challenger.
When others threaten, we must take action.
Uh-oh. My ballistic bot's getting a little
Can you improve
messed up there.
perfection?
Oh, when we find a star shaping, oh, we are looking fantastic here. We're gonna start with an ignition, I think.
Safety disengaged. Join me if you want to live.
Uh-oh.
Won't find better
Oh, okay.
this side of the sun.
Our opponent finds a decent answer. If we could find something that has, I don't know, elusive? Wouldn't that be interesting? I think we'll do exactly that. Now everything I have has elusive and challenger, except for the submersible. Our opponent's probably gonna try to, like, yeah, kill us here, but he doesn't quite have enough, and next turn we can go for the star shaping at burst speed, so this should be game in our favor. We're gonna pull Teemo, I don't know, here, I guess? Doesn't really matter. And we're gonna kill our opponent. Easy, dude, easy. I'm telling you, man, Zoe,
How do you like them sparkles?
how do you like them sparkles? Zoe is not that hard to use.
So boring!
She looks incredibly difficult to level up at first glance, but it can definitely be done, and once you do it, it's surprisingly easy to just get a game-winning swing using her leveled up condition. So I'm happy with that one. I'm glad I could show that off. I haven't been able to show quite what Viktor is really capable of. This guy can get insane if your opponent can't answer him well. But I'm glad that we got the Zoe level up. I'm glad I got to showcase that, and I think I can stop now. I think I can call that a video. So in case you don't know me, my name is Gameboy Rob. I also stream every weekday, 8 a.m. to 12 o'clock p.m. That is Pacific Standard Time. Come hang out. We have a really nice time, and I put together decks like this and grind out the ladder, and yeah, we have a really good time. So I think I'll stop talking there, and I will see you guys in the next one.